My people, inner freedom. Perhaps it is the greatest value. The greatest flavor that a human being could hope for. Being free internally makes everything easier. Even our ability to manage suffering can be observed. Many times we suffer because we are attached. We are not free. I attach myself to a table. I attach myself to a book. I attach myself to success. I attach myself to a job. I attach myself to a person. And then I deprive myself of living my personal freedom. Then I begin to suffer. No one promised us that it would be easy. No one promised us that everything would happen the way we want. No one promised us that our loves would be perfect. No one promised us that people would not betray us. No one promised us that we wouldn't lose the people we love. Not us. No one promised us that we wouldn't have to deal with opposites. Inner freedom, my people, it puts you at peace with life. You start to feel lighter about living. You start to realize what really matters, where you have to put your effort. Sometimes we spend some time in our lives dissatisfied, bitter because of nonsense. Why? Because we lack inner freedom. Oh, Father, but my context enslaves me. I'm sorry, man. I only believe in freedom. What frees us, my people? What frees us? Who is the lawyer who could free us from behind the bars of suffering? It is our convictions. It is what we think that frees us. It is the word that illuminates our conscience, that is capable of freeing us. Perhaps liberation does not come into your life. It is because you still do not think in a liberating way. Perhaps you are still a slave to yourself in so many dimensions. Or perhaps you are still jealous. Perhaps you are still immersed in your pettiness. It is because you have not yet been enlightened by the thought that liberates, which is the word of Christ. It is your mentality. It is your gospel to your way of being. It is your way of living, of interpreting the world, of interpreting people. This is what frees us. Living hurts. It is always painful. But is it possible to extract satisfaction from all this? And for this, the religious process, to help us understand this. It is so liberating when we understand that life is sacred, even when things happen that do not seem sacred, that even in the midst of misfortunes, we can give a religious meaning to all of this, that we can understand this entire human process as a gift to be administered in a holy way. Today, I want to receive life. I want to deal with this life with maturity, because I, like myself, understand it as a process. Holy is holy. To live is sacred to live. And I have no right to neglect this sacredness of life with my childishness. Why do I say that it is perhaps one of the greatest flavors? Human, from a spiritual or emotional point of view, that a human being can experience is freedom. Because from the moment that I am a man, free, I begin to interpret myself in the right way. I begin to look at myself with due respect, with due reverence. I begin to look at others too, allowing this freedom. Because those who are free make a point of provoking freedom in those they meet. Sometimes we have so much difficulty at home. We have difficulty with our brothers. We have difficulty with our father, with our mother, with our daughter. Why have we not been freed in our own minds? We continue to be attached to ourselves, to our miseries. We do not work for freedom. Because from the moment I take seriously the freedom that Jesus provokes in me, I will do everything so that Christian is free too. But in a loving way, in a supportive way. I will not impose my fate on him. I will do everything so that I can deal well with my transformations. Then I will organize my morning better. I will be able to lose with a little more wisdom. Why lose? We are all losing. We are all wasting time all the time. But we are gaining something that, if you want to see, you just have to open your eyes. So, throw away all that arsenal of childishness that we often carry. Allow God to remove from our eyes those glasses that often make us see a reality full of pretty little flowers. But that does not correspond to what it is. Look at the other with truth, without our expectations. Many times our encounters are not possible. Our loves are not possible. It is because it is not that we love or we love. It is the expectation that we have of or. This is cruel when we throw onto the other all the responsibilities that arise from our childish way of seeing life, of seeing the world, of seeing people. Many times we feed very childish views about the life of the other. even in our relationship with God. How many times do we catch ourselves feeding a childish way of being religious? It is when we are not mature enough to understand that God will not do all our wills, that it is not proper for someone who loves to fulfill all the wishes of the beloved creature, because this means taking away from the beloved creature the opportunity to grow with the difficulties that are inherent to life. Of course, God's presence does not waver, and he does not wake up in a bad mood saying, "I'm not going to be with these people today." No. Now, what about us? It's up to us to decide whether or not to accept his presence in our lives, because God does not invade us. God gives us all graces, but he does not force us to receive them. And that's where the difference between one human being and all others lies. It's precisely the courage to accept God's grace, to put to work everything that he has placed in us as a gift. It's allowing the seed to advance in its growth. It's watering the seed received, this gift received daily, so that it becomes a fruit. People, if we pat ourselves on the head every day, if we look at ourselves with pity, if we look at ourselves with victim spirit, we have 1,000 reasons to lie down and sleep, thinking that we have already done everything that interfered was done. When a human being enters into the context of self-pity, he stops growing. Oh, poor me. Look how hard I worked today. I don't even have time to take a quick walk. I don't have time for anything like that. Add something new to your life and do everything you can to fix what's bothering you. So, you already have a heavy routine, I know, but add something that will improve your life, even if it's just a little bit. Look, from today on, half an hour of my day will be spent reading. I need to read at least one book a month. I need to add, even if it's just 15 minutes of reflection to my day. I'm very busy. I'm having a routine. I'm taking care of my house all the time. I'm taking care of my children. I'm working, and I don't have time to balance myself as a person. You know, you feel like you're doing something for your maturity, for your progress. Is that religious, my people? Yes, when we allow it. May God be in our lives. When does he help us to live detachment, even from those we love, to allow them to leave, or to reestablish that memory in a new way? Why does everyone die, my people? And everyone will lose special people. We are all devastated by the sadness of seeing someone we love leave. Now my life cannot end when someone else dies, because if I do, I will not bear witness to the resurrection. Or will I not do justice to the life I still have? Nothing is only good. Nothing is only bad. Your turn has its right side. When you look at it, you have to think that it exists because it sustains it, which is as important as the right side. It is worthless. It is not you making a beautiful garment with fabric. In short, a quality on the outside, if you do not give the same quality orbit on the inside. Is that how it is? The human experience is the same thing, and we mature as we are able to articulate reality with. The goal? No one can live without a goal, without objectives, right? When you allow it, that the grace of God reaches you, in all its possibilities, with all its consequences, you begin to enter a territory, too much lightness. You start to let go of the weights that we sometimes insist on carrying, because it's amazing how we are. It's not very intelligent to say that we are stupid. How can we insist on carrying burdens that don't add anything to our lives? He who ties himself to burdens cannot be free. Can't he discover the grace of inner freedom? He who clings to situations, people, things. A childish way of seeing reality is so harmful. It deprives us of living life as it deserves to be lived. The first thing is to get rid of this story that we're going to have a happy life because we're good, that we are going to have a harmonious life because we did this, we did that, not this math doesn't add up. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people, and when that happens, the good ones need to recruit all the elements that make them good so that they are able to understand life. For us to stop crying, get over spilt milk. For us to start looking at life with a little more courage, with a little more exposure, with a little more maturity. Until when does someone die in our life? If we don't free ourselves to understand the loss, we don't organize the mourning, we will never be tied to our corpses. 10, 20, 30 years. In fact, we even live some lessons that only the loss of someone very essential in our life teaches us. One of them is what the poet Mia Couto, a Mozambican writer, says in such an interesting way. The beloved dead, he never stops dying. All the courses that life can offer me so that I can achieve this overcoming. May God mature us so that we can understand this refrain that dresses in reverse, that the right has, since what is free has its price, that life has opposites. But even in these opposites, we can be very, very, very harmonious, and that the greatness of a soul depends precisely on the capacity that this soul has to reconcile opposites within itself. So inner freedom helps me to do this. It helps me to give to God. It helps me to lose. How many things have I lost in my life? How many people have I lost in my life? And there are people who are jealous of their cars, who get very angry, lose all balance when they find out that someone used their car. Or when there's a little scratch there, they lose their peace. They don't hurt. We get attached to situations. We get attached to people. We get attached to statuses. We even get attached to the image that we have. There are people who do not accept the aging process because they are attached to the image they had in their youth. Lack of inner freedom. It makes us become more and more attached. What is jealousy? It is a disordered attachment to a person, to a situation, to an object. This happily ever after. It exists as long as you understand this happily ever after, with a daily struggle for contentment of being with each other. In the case of the struggle, of the commitment, of making this relationship work. We do not have the right to take fairy tales and bring them into our lives, as if we had the obligation to play the same roles as those written in literature. The words of St. Paul in Galatians speak to us in a brilliant way, in an exquisite way. It is to be truly free. Christ has set us free. Stand firm. Then, and do not let yourselves be subjected again to the yoke of slavery. See how the process does not end the moment we are free. As I am freed, as I take a step toward my inner freedom, I need to ensure that situations do not oppress me again. Why, everyone? In all the structures that enslave us, they continue to do so. I remember when my sister died, my God in heaven. I thought I would never be able to be happy about anything again. Such was the depth of that pain. I came from my mother burying my sister. I kept thinking, I think my mother will never be able to smile and be happy about any situation again. But she, surrounded by the grace of God, she gradually recovered. And you who know Mrs. Anna, do you know? A woman does not hold back on joy. Without goals, a human being will not go far. But the goal is always a factor that is linked to the ideal. So I want that for myself. But what do I recognize today? It does not give me the conditions to live the realization of this goal. So then you will equalize yourself in the time of commitment. But what about your goals? Do they not disregard your current process? I cannot have a goal that disregards who I am. I need to tie my goals to my reality. And in reality, I can always interfere. But I think it's time. Time is wonderful. And it is a father of truth in everything. It shows everything. Nothing disguised. Time lasts. It shows our excesses, right? It tells. It disproves our lies. He's a bad guy. You are following us at home. Perhaps you can relate to this conversation a little, because you too, in some instances in your life, often feel like a prisoner of your petty feelings of what is most primitive in you. This opportunity that we have here to remember, to recall that Christianity is the daily invitation for us to access these primitive dimensions. And that's why, my people, I like to always emphasize that the context of religion has to be the context of maturation. We cannot bend our knees to the ground to pray to God, forgetting our causes. We do not have the right to live a mysticism that alienates us, that prevents us from thinking about human issues. We do not have the right to live a relationship with God that does not place us in the daily obligation of looking at what we are living, what we are choosing, what we are thinking, and clean up these excesses, right? The power of the gospel, the liberation that it provokes in us, is precisely so that we have the conditions to overcome our shortcomings, to go to those who need us, to establish a mourning with them, even if they continue to be different from us. Each one assumes the rule that he chose to live. I keep realizing this, that sometimes we are still so far from the Christian proposal, from this eternity precisely, because we are not free. You true sanity, right? Sometimes we experience such petty feelings in the face of the success of the other, in the face of the beauty that the other provokes. Say of art that the other hurts, right? How strange that is, right? There's maturity and we need to be free and happy with what we are experiencing. Otherwise, you end up envying your neighbor's garden, don't you? It's inevitable to be happy. Being happy with someone else is good, but it's light. It only happens if it's true. Then we're in the face, right? Turning our faces away. But if from time to time someone doesn't take us out of this common sense and present us with a new way of interpreting reality, we run the risk of staying chained in the pettiness, right? Of common sense, of thinking differently. Thinking out loud was not Jesus' proposal. He didn't change the minds of those he met. For the better, he made those people leave an old context of interpreting themselves, others, friends, politics, religion, and made the person move forward, see, hear through the head. My heart only changes after the head thinks differently. And it's so important, my people, for you to feel that you're not stagnant. We live in a time of so much slavery, the slavery of prejudice. My God in heaven, sometimes we watch a political debate and people attacking each other in such a way. My merciful Father, and you wonder, have you seen the disrespect of a human being for the other? You see it all the time. You watch the news and you notice the cruelty that is increasingly present among us because we lack a mentality that frees us. We lack a mentality that gives us the conditions to look at others with a little more love, to look at others who live their sexuality differently from us, who have made different choices than us, and we are able to have respect for that person, to not treat them as a discredit, as if they were a second-rate human being. Today is that moment when Jesus says, because if you want to come, you will have to give up your context to discover his context. You bring yourself, and from the moment you introduce yourself to him, then he will do a great work in your life. Sometimes we rescue a tribal instinct to be able to justify the fears that we feel, the insecurities that we carry, the shame of admitting that I am jealous. I am insecure. Sometimes I am afraid. Sometimes we are ashamed to tell ourselves who we are. I truly believe and experience that God's mercy is a wonderful place to live. A great place, where you enter and can breathe in peace and say, Jesus, look at what a little guy I've been here. Let's talk. Do I want to be like that? No, it's not being free. It's a project that never ends, right? We are never completely free. Christian anthropology teaches us that our inner freedom needs to be freed daily because it is a gift. It is a gift that asks me to do something. I don't receive it on a silver platter. It's not like they commonly say when things are very easy. God gave us freedom as a gift. I carry it inside me. You carry it inside you. We all receive it. Now, being free is something else. It's like having a plant that needs to grow through the care we have for it, when you water it, when you fertilize it, so that all the potential that exists in the seed develops. And that seed can become the tree that potentially exists inside. It's the same thing. It's freedom. Being able to say today, I am free. It's you assuming that you are in a process of liberation from your own freedom. Christian motivation to God, all glory and praise.